This video is brought to you by Mubi, a curated streaming service showing exceptional films from around the globe. Get 1 month free at mubi.com/the discarded image. Citizen Kane was a leap forward for cinema, a groundbreakingly innovative triumph headed by the 25-year-old wunderkind Orson Welles. The deep focus shots, the flashback structure, the creative transitions, the virtuoso camera moves. Welles was given a rare power and freedom that was the envy of Hollywood. Tragically, this was the only time he would be given such luxurious treatment. The rest of Welles's filmmaking career would not be so rose-tinted. He'd either make films for the studios that would be taken out of his hands and recut, or he'd have to scrape together financing independently, often in Europe. Yet despite these limitations, his unique approach to the filmmaking craft still shone through. His follow-up to Kane, The Magnificent Ambersons, is, despite being heavily edited by the studio, Welles's least edited film. He was even more ambitious with the duration of his shots, with the camera travelling through the illustrious Ambersons mansion, moving up the different levels with moody lighting and trademark low angles, which utilised the house's Baroque architecture.
Jack said that if there was any gossip, it was about you.
Here he starts with what appears like a wide master shot, and then pans up the levels to reveal the other characters, who move around to different positions as the scene progresses. This is a technique Welles would deploy in other films, using the varying levels of a location to stage his scenes without cutting. And in this shot, the camera dramatically tracks back as characters pass through different rooms, with the camera eventually hanging back to end the scene with an expressionistically lit wide. Another technique he would repeat.
30 years, pounding beats and riding cars, 30 years of dirt, crummy pay, 30 years I gave my life to this
What's your blood pressure?
and you allow this foreigner to accuse
We were just
me?
giving you a chance.
Of course, his most famous long take is this opening shot from Touch of Evil. After a bomb has been triggered, the shot follows it being planted in the trunk of a car, and then cranes up with the unlucky couple as they drive off to join a crowded street, where the lead romantic couple are finally introduced. This is Welles at his most audacious, but he'll also have scenes play out where you may not even notice there's no cutting. In this shot, Welles establishes the group that will be interacting throughout the scene. But as it develops, it singles out Charlton Heston's Vargas, as he clocks that Welles's corrupt police captain is up to something nefarious, planting evidence. It then progresses to a group shot.
Well, we found 2 sticks.
Black
That's
Fox,
the
man,
right
that's
number.
O'Brien. Where
Right
did you
brand.
find this?
Right here in your love net.
Where? Well, you had it stashed, of course.
Welles's compositions favour the complex blocking of groups, often using a wide 18.5mm lens to create his unique framings. This helps situate his characters more prominently in relation to their surroundings.
Can you tell me how to get out of here? I've had enough of this place.
The camera is often below eye level, making the shots feel more dynamic than if they were straight on. And he gives his actors space to move around and ominously surround his protagonists, creating an oppressive atmosphere. For Welles, the cinematic space is one of endless possibilities. Like here, as Janet Leigh's character enters a motel, sounds familiar, right? And we see the manager framed at the back at the window.
I turned the music on up for you up at the office.
And once he introduces himself, Welles uses the window and door for comic effect.
I turned the music on up for you.
Let's talk to the doctor on the phone. He's coming right over.
This technique allows Welles to create moving shots that are constantly alive,
A couple of police officers out here.
utilising the space to reveal new compositions.
I don't speak their language, see?
His shots are often as labyrinthian as his narratives. The characters move through spaces that have frames within frames. He frequently uses the structures of the place his characters inhabit, using foreground and background to add dense layers to his formal patterns. He was a lover of the Dutch angle, especially when his characters lose control, their grip on sanity, or whatever this is. Welles's use of light and shadow is at the far corners of expressionism. He presents noirish worlds that are full of corrupt and deceptive figures. Whether it's a Nazi moving through post-war America, Joseph K. running through tunnels to escape persecution, the guilt-ridden Macbeth moving through these shadow caves, and then isolated in darkness,
Put out the light.
or his just as tormented Shakespeare counterpart Othello. And this rendezvous of twisted lovers in The Lady from Shanghai is bizarrely set in an aquarium, which acts as a backdrop to the silhouetted couple's faces. Although I've mostly been focusing on Welles's compositions, as his career went on, his editing patterns became just as innovative. Through an almost manic montage, he creates surreal impressions that he said he'd work on tirelessly. His famous battle scene in Chimes at Midnight, again ahead of its time, is considered to be one of the greatest war sequences. Despite Welles only having a limited number of extras, he was able to maximise what he had, to piece together a collage of senseless mass carnage. His worlds are often fragmented spaces, a tangled web his characters are frequently trapped in. Like the abstract patterns of the forest that flash up during Macbeth. Or in The Lady from Shanghai, it's the inside of a circus. A surreal representation of the classic Spider-Woman that's ensnared her prey. This climaxes in the famous Hall of Mirrors sequence, Welles's most audacious version of his trademark mirror motif.
I'm aiming at you, lover. 'Cause killing you is killing myself.
Welles's narratives have always been a complex hall of mirrors themselves. The many sides and perspectives of Kane, the maddening layers of the bureaucratic state in the trial. F for Fake's art forger, who is being documented by an author who himself wrote a fake biography of Howard Hughes, whilst this filmic essay is also an elaborate form of trickery.
You'll find the key back in your pocket.
And in his final film, The Other Side of the Wind, Welles pushes these ideas into their most chaotic and prismatic form. The film's film within a film is practically self-parody, reflections upon reflections as the narrative surveys a Wellesian director and the competition with his protege, Welles's real-life friend, the director Peter Bogdanovich. The film comes full circle from Kane, an investigation of a dead man, a legend, a mystery. But by this time, Welles's aesthetic is almost the complete opposite of his early years. This is partly because his budgets forced him to shoot in a more fragmented way, yet he still committed himself to that aesthetic, feeling as if he was pioneering another new language. Even if he didn't have the backing of the studios, he forged his path regardless, and still aspired to push the form to the furthest reaches of his imagination. If you're now interested in exploring Orson Welles' filmography, look no further than this video's sponsor, Mubi. Over in the US, in the Mubi library, they are showing his adaptation of William Shakespeare's Othello, a passion project which Welles shot piecemeal across Europe over the course of 3 years. Despite a shoestring budget, he still manages to pack it with his expressive, inventive imagery, with the man himself playing the Moor of Venice. And showing in the UK, one of my favourites, his bold adaptation of Franz Kafka's The Trial. A technical tour de force, it's Welles's most surreal and nightmarish work, with a great central performance by Psycho's Anthony Perkins. Every day, Mubi premieres a new film, from timeless classics to cult favourites and acclaimed masterpieces. They're expert curators, who you can trust to shine a light on all the diverse corners of the cinematic art form. It's like your own personal film festival. You can try Mubi free for 30 days at mubi.com/thediscardedimage and get a whole month of great cinema for free.